Hey everybody, how are you guys? I hope you guys are good. Okay, so just found out some new information, so I wanted to immediately share that with you guys. So let me go over here. Give me just 1 second. Okay. The family of Robert Card, who is suspected of killing 18 people in two mass shootings in Maine on Wednesday night, say the Army reservist had previously claimed he was hearing voices at the two locations he allegedly attacked. So that's why he had targeted the bowling alley and the restaurant because he had apparently heard voices at both of those locations. In the aftermath of the carnage, Katie Card, who was married to Card's brother, told the Daily Beast that their family has been messaging her brother in law and urging him to surrender to authorities. I have known Rob my whole life, Card said on Thursday. He is quiet, but the most loving, hardworking, and kind person that I know. But in the past year, he had an acute episode of mental health, and it's been a struggle. She said that Robert Card recently began wearing powerful hearing aids to combat hearing loss. Since then, Card said her brother in law has been insisting to his family that he can hear people bashing him, including at Just in Time Recreation Bowling Alley and the Bar and Grill, where he's accused of gunning down 18 people on Wednesday night. He truly believed he was hearing people say things, she added. This all just happened within the last few months. The bloody rampage began around 6 p.m. Wednesday at the Just in Time Recreation Bowling Alley in Lewiston. Another shooting was then reported around 4 miles away at the Bar and Grill. Okay, that police confirmed that 18 people were killed and another 13 injured, including kids who were participating in a bowling league. At a Thursday morning press briefing, officials would not discuss why Robert Card may have targeted the bowling alley and bar. That does speak to motive, so it's not something we're going to be prepared to answer today. Katie Card said her brother-in-law would get mad when they told him the voices were just in his head. His mental health issues resulted in a weeks-long stay at a facility over the summer. I mean, he was only in there for a few weeks. Things have kind of gone downhill recently. We tried to listen to him and tell him that nobody was talking about him. She added, yesterday, as the story was unfolding, we prayed that Rob had nothing to do with this. But when we heard the two places where the shooting happened, my husband rushed home. Katie Card, who was currently with the rest of the family as they wait for news, added that she has been texting her brother-in-law since the shooting, hoping he reads her messages. Card was a petroleum supply specialist in the Army Reserve who enlisted in December of 2022, had no combat deployments, and received several standard military awards. Several media outlets shared a law enforcement bulletin that circulated on Wednesday night describing Card as a trained firearms instructor in the Army Reserve who had recently reported mental health issues, which allegedly including hearing voices and threatened to shoot up the National Guard base in Saco, Maine. The bulletin, which the Daily Beast has not independently verified, also said he was committed over the summer and then released. That referral happened on July 16th after Card began behaving erratically while in training at the United States Military Academy, a New York State division of Military and Naval Affairs spokesperson told the Daily Beast. Out of concern for his safety, the unit requested that law enforcement be contacted. The spokesperson said, adding that Card was taken to Keller Army Community Hospital for an evaluation. Katie Card told the Daily Beast that her brother-in-law is currently unemployed and that he previously worked at a distribution center and was a long-haul truck driver. A colleague at a recycling plant told the Daily Beast that Card had acted violently and oddly towards coworkers just last year. Now, as authorities continue to search for the alleged gunman, his family is begging for the 40-year-old father to turn himself in. The Lewiston Police Department released an image of Card on Wednesday night and said he should be considered armed and dangerous. An arrest warrant for him was issued on Thursday on 8 counts of murder. Katie Card insisted that her brother-in-law is probably just scared. We know he is out there, and he is a good person in his heart, she said. After all of this, when he has time to reflect, he will be disgusted. We all want him to know that we love him and that we can handle things as a family. He just has to reach out and do the right thing. Okay, now, so we know that he targeted the bowling alley and the restaurant because those were the two places that he had previously heard voices. Okay, now, let me play this for you guys.
Retired FBI special agent who served as a Let me bring in Bobby Chacon, retired FBI special agent who served as a tactical medic during the manhunt for Olympic Park bomber Eric Rudolph, among many other situations. Let me ask you, Bobby, thanks for coming on. Appreciate it. ABC News is reporting tonight that a suicide note was found at the home addressed to his son. What do you make of that? And how does the mental health piece fit into the strategy of the folks trying to catch him? Does it mean that he's less predictable? Does it mean that it can provide them with some, way to figure out what might be his next move, or does it make him that much more unpredictable?
I think it makes him that much more unpredictable because, throughout the day we hear people talking about, why would he do this? Why would he do that? And what we're trying to do is we're trying to ascribe rational thought to an irrational person. None of us can get inside his head because his head is working very differently than our heads work and stuff. If I was on scene, I would have mental health professionals in the command post with me, particularly, hopefully, someone that's treated this guy prior. And I know there's, doctor-patient privilege, but, in certain circumstances that could be suspended. If we could get somebody that's treated this guy in the past in the command post to kind of advise us of what he might be thinking and how, because look, I knew tactics, but I didn't know, I was not a psychiatrist or a psychologist. So if you can have those mental health professionals, particularly somebody who knows this guy personally, that can really help in a situation like this when and if you actually come into contact with him, and when if you can try to decide or predict where he's going. But overall, he's not ideologically driven, he's irrationally driven, and that makes him much more unpredictable on what he's going to do, when he's going to do it, how he's going to do it. These things usually resolve themselves quickly, either a suicide at the scene or suicide by cops shortly after. That hasn't happened in this case. So now we're going into a phase of this case where it's really unpredictable.
All right, let me ask you about what we've been seeing in the last few hours at the family home there. We've seen the authorities now go back to the same home, same area at least, and presumably the same home twice, literally leaving and coming back. You've got to believe that someone gave them some sort of information that led them to go back, right?
It's exactly what I was thinking. In fact, not only information, the first thing that jumped into my mind was one of his relatives may have been on the phone with him somehow, and they went to the house and they came back and said he's not there. And then the person turned around and said, no, he is there. Because why would you leave and then come back so quickly and so strongly? And so it seems to me that in the interim, when they left, as Alec was describing, when they left. For them to have to then come back, clearly new information came to light that drove them back to that house. What could that information be?
Thank you for watching. Go to News Nation now.
Obviously, like I said, they had to have some kind of reason to think that he may be in there. But now they've left again. So he obviously was not in there. All right, let's hear from his neighbor.
It will never stop overwhelming me what human beings are capable of in crisis. And you just saw it with these two guys who could be your brother, your buddy, your bowling partner. So in trying to figure out what we're dealing with, what kind of animal this is, and what he has in him, I met this guy named Rick Goddard, who lives right next to the family, understands the surroundings also, and gave me some really great insight into how hard it'll be to catch this guy. but also about what's happening in the community and what's true and untrue. Here's Rick Goddard. He knows this family very well. How old is she?
She's 20 years old, and it's a college hangout, and so she was going to go hang out with her friends at the bowling alley last night, and she got a call on her way there and said that something was going on there and not bother showing up, and fortunately she didn't.
That's an interesting way to be told about a mass shooting going on.
She didn't, speculate at that time that's what had happened. She didn't know that's what had happened.
Somebody just said, stay away from here.
Yeah, there's something going on. Don't come, to Lewis right now. They're locking everything down.
What do you think about why Lewiston?
I don't know why he chose that particular spot, but I mean, population-wise, where there's actually a populace of people, that's it. I mean,
it's the closest place to here.
Exactly. That's the only place where you could go to do something. You know what I mean? This is country, that's the city, and there's only things to do in the city if you want to do something at night. The situation with him being a veteran, and from what I've heard, he was in, the veteran hospital, and he was hearing voices and stuff, and for him not to get the help that he needed, our veterans aren't getting the help that they need.
A guy with his kinds of skills, the initial numbers were much higher. Then they came down, thank God, right?
Sure.
The kind of weapon he had, the kind of ammunition he had on him, and the time that he had, it almost speaks to him having targeted specific people, because he could have hit a lot more people with the amount of time and free reign he had.
From what I saw on the press conference,
And that is one thing too that me and Chad were talking about, is he must have had specific, targets in mind, or at the very least people in mind that he thought were a threat to him during that mental break, because I mean, it was a full packed, there could have been there was enough loss of life, but there could have been a lot more.
At 10:30 this morning, whatever, it showed that he was mainly targeting males. And there was only, from what I saw at the time, there was one female casualty. So he was being precise, I would say. I wouldn't say it was just a random shooting spree at that point. He was definitely targeting certain individuals.
Now, of him, you've never had any indication, other than that he was a veteran, that he had any kind of edge to him or any kind of animus?
No. Never heard a negative thing about any of the family. Not a single negative thing.
And the reputation of the family?
Very well known. I mean, it's a small community, and they're well known, part of this community, and never heard a negative thing about any of them.
He had been gone, as far as you know, in the service, and then came back home recently.
Correct, last year or so.
And you had no indication of what he was up to, except that you saw him working with the family doing what?
Farming, helping his father hay his field. That's when I saw him.
And what was the reaction of this community to this news?
I can only speak for myself, but I mean, it's mind-blowing. It's just, this is something that doesn't happen here. And why would this ever happen here? It doesn't make any sense. If somebody ends up in that kind of a mental crisis, it doesn't happen here, and it did, and it really hits home.
The way family works around here, if anybody had contact with him, is this the kind of situation where you turn the guy in? Or is this the kind of culture where you protect him, hide him?
I wouldn't dare say. Personally, if it was my family member and that happened to me, knowing it's never going to end well, I'd want them to turn themselves in, because if they didn't, it's going to be so much worse for them. I mean, it's never going to be a good situation how this is going to end, period. It's not. I mean, there's no good outcome for this, for him.
Or for them.
For them. For the family, it's unbelievable what they're going through right now, I'm sure.
Reports that locals say they were well known and known by reputation, that give them their space, stay away, including him.
I wouldn't say so. I mean, as far as they like to take precedence in keeping the land private so that they can hunt on it, because of problems they've had with other people coming and doing things on their land that's inappropriate, you know, stealing, etc. And so they've posted their land to keep other people off of it. Other than that, nothing. Never heard a negative thing.
And you've never been intimidated by them or worried about them or
Absolutely
anything?
not. By no means. By no means. They're good people. It's what makes this so unbelievable, and so it's hard to fathom what happened to him mentally to cause this.
You think that's what it was?
I'm not fully knowing his whole military history, but if he was in actual combat and he has PSTD or whatever, I can't imagine it's anything other than that.
But you never heard that he was dealing with illness?
I never heard any negative things ever.
I appreciate you. Hey, thank you for watching. Please.
Okay, now that contradicts the story that we heard earlier from that 20-something-year-old who, you know, was like, oh, these people don't go near these people. They're like crazy, like stay away from them, yada, yada, yada. So, okay, I got one more video that I want to share with you guys.
When you go into the bowling alley, there's a right side and there's a left side. The right side is where we hold our practice. First 4 lanes when you walk in. That's where the majority of my bowling kids were. I just happened to be on the left side this one night, facilitating a pre-post bowl session where kids can make up for games that they missed.
Okay.
Or bowl for games that they're gonna miss.
And then what happens?
I hear the loudest pop I've ever heard in a bowling alley, and it was unnatural. I've been in bowling alleys my entire life. It was unnatural. I knew it immediately. Thank God that this guy was having gun malfunctions.
You pretty sure about that, huh?
I'm
Because
100% confident. When I looked around the corner, he was facing me at 30 feet, and he was racking his gun.
There's only 2 reasons you're doing that, right? You're either reloading,
right,
or you're trying to clear the chamber.
Trying to clear jam.
So either way, that's a moment of let's go.
right. And were you able to get any eye contact with him or to watch any of his movements?
I nothing but neck and long gun, and the first words out of my mouth were shooter, shooter, and follow me. And there just happened to be a huge curtain where they have their candlepin lanes shut down. I saw that curtain as cover. I said, follow me. Half of my group followed me. The other half of my group froze and barricaded in a corner. From that exit door that I got everybody out of, I stood there and continued to watch into the building, because that shooter was either going to continue my way, walking towards that group, and this could have been a lot worse.
Yeah.
This could have been a lot worse, Chris.
I mean, look, there's no way to put the right words to how horrible this is for the victims involved, all the families in this community. There's no question. But that is, you heard me, one of the questions I have, you know, because he obviously got the weapon functioning again, right? Because he went to another location, unless he had another weapon. But a guy with that kind of weapon and that kind of ammo and that kind of training, where a place can't get away and they don't have anything to defend themselves, could have been, you know,
Right.
complete.
Right.
Did you see anybody get hit? Did you see where he seemed to be aiming or how he was doing it?
I didn't, but what I do know is that he was calculated. This wasn't a sprayer. This was a pow, 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 pow. He's putting a dot on somebody.
You know, and that's another thing that Chad had brought up too, was that, you know, if you're I mean, if you're going to just try to take out as many people as possible, you're most likely going to have a fully automatic weapon. It makes the most sense where you just walk in and just go like this and just blast everybody. That's not what this man did. Like, they're telling you right here, like, it could have been so much freaking worse. Thank God that it wasn't.
And you don't have any sense, though, of he was looking for specific people versus this was just a place with a lot of people.
I don't believe.
At the time,
I don't believe so.
I think we were both trying to,
Just get
take
out.
care of our people and get out.
No, you did the right thing. I mean, you really did the right thing. Did you see anybody who was injured on the outside or any part of that scene?
There was one little girl and her mom that was running with. Luckily, I had my phone, so I had the flashlight, and it looked like she either cut herself really poorly on her leg, which tore her pants, or she had a little bullet hole in her leg. So we walked her over to the ambulance, and she got in the ambulance. And then there was an older woman that was bowling that she was having some problems, so we were comforting her.
When I re-entered the alley, as I said, I was looking through that door, expecting to see him continue. A minute or so passed. That I didn't hear any action. I didn't hear anything happening. And I had a good buddy that was in that group on lane 17, barricaded in the corner. I yelled his first initial, D, and I didn't hear anything. I waited a few more seconds, and I yelled again, full name, Dylan. And he said, yes. I said, are you good? He said, yeah. At that point, I really wasn't concerned with the threat. I made my way back in, and as soon as I got to that original corner that I had looked down, there was bodies. There was bodies, and the owner of the facility, who I know and I'm close with her husband, great people. They brought our bowling alley back to life for us. I saw her running from the front entrance back into the building. The door was locked. It was secure. I felt no threat at that point. It was who here is savable.
Is anybody savable?
Not a lot. Not a lot.
Anybody talking to you today after this about why they think this happened?
The person's wondering why it happened.
Yeah.
Anybody seem to know anything?
It's 4.3 million speculations.
Yeah.
And as much as I want the police force to empty every single round that they have into his chest, I think we all almost want him to give some sort of an answer, but there's not going to be one answer he gives that's going to make sense for any of us. So at this point, let's just get it done with. He needs to go away.
What does that aspect do to your head and your heart that he found a way to evade them this long? You think it's just about the area?
Like you said, it's a rural area, and if you know your surroundings and you're familiar with this area, you can get around.
Hey, thank you for watching. Please go to newsnationnow.com.
All right, you guys. So I just wanted to give you that little bit of information because we were all trying to figure out why he targeted these two places. I mean, we had no idea. So at least now we know. Our thoughts and prayers are with the victims and their families. That town, Lewis and strong, but it'll never be the same again. So here's to hoping and praying that this ends and the families can begin their journeys of healing. I love you guys. Please leave all your thoughts and your comments down in the comment section below. Please hit that thumbs up. Please sub to the channel. Go ahead and click that join button and become a member of the family. Anybody who wants to do anything extra and can afford it, the links are all down in the description below. I love you guys. Stay strong, stay healthy, stay safe. Keep asking those hard questions. Keep spreading that light. And I will see you guys next time. Have a good night, everybody.